Let's talk about what sexual violence is. Sexual violence is unwanted touching or forcing someone into having sex. There are different types of sexual violence. Let us get to know what they are. Sexual harassment is uncomfortable and unwanted attention or comments about a person's body. It can include making sexual comments, unwelcome touch, sharing unwelcome sexual pictures, and using authority to pressure or blackmail someone into intimacy. Molestation is when someone touches the private area, like the breasts, the butt, or the genitals, of a non-consenting party. Sexual assault is when someone forces another person into sexual activity. All forms of sexual violence happen without a person's permission or consent. What is consent? Consent is giving permission through an enthusiastic and verbal yes. Consent is about communication. Just because you consent to one activity one time does not mean you give consent to other activities or the same activity on a different occasion. Remember, even after you've given consent, you're allowed to take it back. You have the right to feel safe and comfortable about your own body. So who does sexual violence happen to? Anyone can experience sexual violence no matter their age, gender, or sexual orientation. People who are most vulnerable are children, people with disabilities, and those who can't speak for themselves. Did you know 72% of sexual violence comes from someone the person knows? This is called acquaintance rape. Acquaintance rape is sexual violence or rape committed by a person known to the victim. This can also be called date rape. This term has become popularly associated with using alcohol or drugs to impair decision-making and take advantage of the person who is under the influence or high. And remember, a person that is impaired or under the influence of substances is not able to give consent. Under Guam law, sexual offenses are illegal and referred to as criminal sexual conduct or CSC. Someone who commits an act of sexual violence can be charged with CSC. The maximum charge for CSC in the first degree is life imprisonment. How can you help survivors of sexual violence? Listen and believe them. Remind them that they're not alone. Don't judge or blame them for what had happened. Encourage them to speak up to a trusted friend or family member, but don't pressure them into doing so. Allow them to be in control of their decision. Break the silence. Although it may feel uncomfortable, having conversations about sexual assault will help normalize the topic of discussion. Continue to educate yourself on how to put an end to sexual violence and learn how to be a support for someone in your life. If you experience sexual assault, here are some tips we can offer. Remember, it's not your fault. Don't blame yourself for anything you did or didn't do. Know that what had happened wasn't your fault. Find support. Dealing with the aftermath of rape or sexual assault can be overwhelming, but you're not alone. It may help to talk to a trusted friend, family member, or counselor. Seek out services in your community. The Guam Coalition offers resources and information on sexual violence. For more information, visit our social media pages or website www.guamcoalition.org.
The Guam Talks video series is made possible by the Qualifying Certificate Community Contribution Grant awarded by the Guam Economic Development Authority and community contributor Guam Regional Medical City. The opinions, findings, conclusions, and recommendations expressed in this video series are those of the author and do not necessarily reflect the views of these funding agencies.